Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at my top 10 Animalfolks from Dale of Merchants collection. Now, Dale of Merchants here is a deck building game in which you are going to be selecting various Animalfolks, as you see here, and shuffling them into a deck to build the opening deck for the game. And then buying cards from these different characters, using those for special abilities, and also to build some stalls in order to win the game. So I'm not going to be showing you here the how the gameplay works, okay? I am simply going to be picking my 10 favorites of these and telling you a little bit about them, showing you some of the cards that come in each of those. Now, I have in this collection of mine all of the sets that have been put out for Dale of Merchants. So there's the original Dale of Merchants is right here. Dale of Merchants 2 shows all the characters there. We've got Dale of Merchants 3 right here. And then this one, Dale of Merchants Collection, is the one that comes in the big box. But this box has enough room to hold the contents for everything else in here, which is what I've done. So we're going to go ahead and jump into those. I'll show you, like I said, my 10 favorites from across the entire collection. Let's jump into it. At number 10, I've got the observant snowy owls here, who are always reacting to other players. So their play is going to be very interesting. Many of their cards you play, you leave out on the table, and then you watch for a trigger that is going to at some point happen, and then you activate whatever that card says. So they are very interactive, but it's not necessarily negative interaction, though you'll see some of that in just a little bit. Now, they are a complex deck, as it says here, because you need to be very vigilant when you are playing these characters. So we'll take a look at a couple of cards here. Binoculars has a passive ability. It stays on the table until it resolves. And it says after another player purchases a card, you may draw a card from your deck and place it into your hand, then discard a card from your hand. So by the time it comes back around to you, ideally you've built up an interesting hand of cards that is more suited to whatever it is you're trying to do at the moment. And then this other one here with the extra remarks, we've got another passive after another player builds a stack, which is how you win the game. You do that 8 times, you win the game. You may search your discard pile for a card and put that on top of your deck, getting something sooner without having to cycle the entire deck out. So very interesting, again, very much about reacting to others, as it says. You need to be vigilant with this deck, but it can be a very pensive game when you throw in the snowy owls. A little bit slower than the usual game, perhaps, but very different, very engaging. At number 9, I've got these sharing short-beaked echidnas. It says they are all about borrowing, but what that really means is they are all about taking your stuff and leaving something else behind, ideally something much worse. So that's what they're going to be doing. They are very interactive, and this is certainly going to be negative interaction. They'll be taking some things from you. So we'll take a look at a couple of their cards here. This is the starting card. The value 1 card is a really neat one. And it says you can swap this card with the top card of another player's discard pile, place the new card into your hand. So you're giving them this and taking whatever is on top of their discard pile. I really like this one because it's much more powerful later in the game, whereas a lot of these starting cards, these value 1 cards, are sort of powered out by the end of the game. They are just simply not as good closer to the end of the game. This one, not so. It's much better later in the game when players have bigger cards in their decks, and therefore they are discarding those. Now, you are giving your opponent the ability to do this back to you at some point, or do it to someone else, which is why I think this has sort of a hot potato feel. You are tossing this to someone else, they'll turn around and use that against you eventually. And then we've got this one here. The matching colors is a technique that says swap an Animalfolk card from your hand with a card of equal value from an opponent's stall. That means you can put whatever you want in there, take a color you need, and then be able to not slow down when you are building your own stalls. Or maybe you want the ability on that card. So very interesting. A lot of possibilities here for not slowing down towards the end of the game. If you've got this, that's going to let you get out of a jam. If you didn't draw the right things, or are just short a card, short a color, something of that nature. So really neat, nice tricks happening here, and they're just fun to play. They are a little nasty, but it's nastiness that normally can just be volleyed right back at you. At number 8, we are looking at the snappy scarlet macaws here, which is from the original Dale of Merchants. By the way, number 10 here was from the second set, Dale of Merchants 2. And then this one, which was number 9, was from Dale of Merchants 3. And I'll go ahead and show you. There's a symbol there that lets you know that. But I'll go ahead and tell you what they're from, just so you see where these cards can be found. So the snappy macaws here are all about hand management. They are going to let you have the right cards in your hand at the right moment. They're going to help you manage that. They are no nastiness rating there. Very low complexity, a great starting deck for new players. And we've got a couple of cards for them. So the cookies here are a passive card. When you draw new cards, you don't count this one towards the card limit in your hand. That means when you draw this, you do need to check your hand, and if you got this, draw an extra card because this one doesn't count against it. And then we've got here Flashy Show, which is a technique that says all cards you use get a +1 to their value for this turn. So if you do this technique, you can buy something much more expensive than you normally would with the cards you've got in your hand. So very nice, strong power there, letting you, again, making the cards in your hand much better for that one purchase or just upcoming purchases. So there you go. That is the snappy scarlet macaws at number 8. At number 7, I've got the dealing giant pandas here, also from the original Dale of Merchants. And these guys are all about manipulating the market, letting you do things when you go to the market to buy new cards, making things a little more efficient for you. Taking a look at a couple of their cards, we've got here Essential Purchase. This one says when you purchase this card, so when you are buying it, that's when that works, you may throw away up to 3 junk cards that you used in that purchase. The cost is 3, so the best you could do then would be to buy this with 3 junk, each one giving you 1 strength to purchase, and then throwing all 3 away, thinning your deck in a single go by 3 cards. Very powerful card. A better purchase a little later on when you've built up your deck a bit and you want to get rid of a bunch of those junk cards quickly. But very neat idea that happens when you buy this, not when it's in your hand. Once it's in your hand, this is nothing really. It's just a strength 3 you can use to purchase itself, or you can build a stall with it. But I like that ability. It's very different from a lot of the other abilities in the game. And then we've got this one of the 5s, a special offer. Technique, draw 3 cards from the market deck, place 1 into your hand, and throw away the rest. This lets you fully bypass having to buy something. You just don't quite know what you're going to get. You draw 3 cards from the face-down deck, pick one, you keep it, throw away the other 2. That can be incredibly powerful. It could be not so great depending on what's on top of the deck. It'll likely always be something useful though, and this card is very strong. It does not give you the plus sign, which normally means you sort of get to go again because it is so powerful. But I really like it. I enjoy that feeling of, ooh, what am I going to get? And this card gives me that feeling. So dealing giant pandas are an excellent deck. At number 6, I've got the swindling black-headed gulls here, and they're all about gifting junk. So again, another very interactive deck of cards here. They are going to be passing around junk cards to the opponents, slowing down the game. It even lets you know in the text here, just be prepared for a slightly slower game. And I kind of like that, especially in a lower player count. Say I'm playing with 3 players here. I don't mind if the game is a little bit slower because sometimes this game can wrap up a bit too quickly. So if I want to slow it down, I want to force my opponents and just the game in general to be a little more methodical. I think the gulls here are a good call for that. A couple of their cards, we've got Goodwill Presents here. Technique, place one junk card from the junk pile, so from outside the game, on up to 2 other players' discard piles. They don't have to deal with it quite yet, but once they cycle their deck, there's an extra junk in there for them. And this, of course, is going to combo really well with cards that thin your deck, like the ones we just looked at that let you get rid of junk. And then we've got this anchor here. Technique, draw 3 cards from your deck. You may place one on another player's discard pile and the others back in any order on top of your deck. So again, you get to peek ahead, see what's coming, maybe thin something out of there if you find it, and just make for a better next turn with this card. So again, these guys are a little mean. There's the nastiness, has 1, interactivity 2, but they are straightforward. And I think, again, that slowing the game down a little bit, I don't find to be problematic. In fact, sometimes I want it. And these are a great candidate for that. Coming in at number 5, I've got these experimenting platypuses. They're all about card control, a very simple deck to play. And they are, of course, going to be manipulating cards, letting you mess around with things sort of, general usage. And these guys are adorable to boot. So we're taking a look at a couple of their cards. We've got here Calculations. This one is a passive card that says when you use this card to purchase, you may rearrange any cards in the market before the purchase. So if there's something out there you really want, but it's very expensive right now because of where it is, move it up to the front, make it very cheap, and then buy it up. So really neat. I like this a lot, manipulating the lineup out there so you can get what you want at the right time for the right cost. And then we've got over here Glue, which is also a passive that says when you use this card to purchase, you may keep this card in your hand. It's a 5. That means I show this card, I buy something very expensive, and then I take this right back into my hand. Very powerful. A 5 you're going to want to use at some point to put into one of your higher stalls, but as long as you can hold on to it, you can make some great purchases without burning cards from your hand. I really like this idea, and it gives you sort of this mini game of how long will I hold until I finally let this go into a stall and lose it from my deck. That mini game of almost pushing your luck, I really enjoy. This is one of my favorite cards. Really like getting that into my deck and into my hand, and then seeing how repeatable I can make that until I'm ready to let it go. So there you go, experimenting platypuses. I told you a little earlier that I loved the feeling of seeing what I'm going to get, of that mystery, that suspense. Well, these scheming green magpies are all about that mystery and suspense. They're about guessing and stealing things. You are going to be guessing names of cards, guessing values, and then if you hit on those things, stealing that card from your opponents. As you can see, complexity is high, interactivity is high, nastiness is high. These are not necessarily introductory cards for new players, but they are really fun, and I definitely love mixing them in and seeing the craziness that ensues. A couple of their cards. Burglary. Technique. If you guess the top card's value from another player's deck, place that card into your hand, otherwise just discard it. So you play this, you guess 3. Flip that over. If it is indeed a value 3 card, that's yours now. Nasty, awful, but really fun, and just brings you that sort of momentary suspense and joy if you hit. And then we've got this sudden nap. You can guess why they're taking a sudden nap. And this one is, of course, a technique as well. Throw away one random card from another player's hand. Very nasty card. Absolutely, possibly wrecking someone's upcoming turn, messing up their deck. But again, if you are putting in these characters, it's because you are ready to deal with that. So be aware of that. These guys are from the 3rd set, by the way. I told you I was going to be showing you what sets they came from. I definitely haven't been doing that. So Scheming Magpies here from 3, Dale of Merchants 3. The Platypuses from Dale of Merchants 2. The Gulls here from, I'll call it Dale of Merchants 4, from the collection. And I think I already told you that the panda was from the original set. So there you go. That brings me up to speed, right? I'll try to do it for the top 3. Speaking of that, let's move on to the top 3. Coming from Dale of Merchants 4, or Dale of Merchants Collection, is the enthusiastic wood turtles here, who are all about finishing later. They're slow little fellas. And so the idea is you'll be playing cards. They are going to stick around on the table until you finish them later. This is a lot easier to explain if I just show you a card. Say I play this card from my hand. It has in bold text here, finish 2. And so anything after that bold text I don't do until I finish the card. Therefore, this card I play and I do nothing else with it. Whenever I want to, I can pay 2, and then I do the rest of the text. In this case, take the leftmost card from the market and put it into my hand. So I can set this and forget it for a while, leave it out of my deck, and whenever I want to finish it on an upcoming turn, I then will get rid of this and do the ability. We've also got another one here that will do something now, as soon as I play it. This is Insight. Draw 2 cards from your deck and place them back in any order, and then the finish 2, once I do that, I can do the rest of this. Draw 2 cards from the deck and place them into your hand. If the cards I looked at I'm not interested in, I don't have to finish this right now. I can leave this alone, maybe do it next turn. Finish 2, draw, and then I draw those 2 cards and put them into my hand. So again, they're all about setting up these things, possibly activating them now, but maybe doing it later. Whenever you pay for them and finish them, that's when you get to do it. They're a little bit slower again. I like that. Like I said, I like slowing down the game a little bit. And these guys do a great job of that, as well as just being fun and thematic. So my number 3, the enthusiastic wood turtles. At number 2, I've got the superstitious snowshoe hares here from the 3rd set, Dale of Merchants 3. And these are the only set I'm picking that has a die. There are several characters in the game that use dice. These are my favorite by far, and obviously one of my favorites overall. So their thing is all about, well, they call it making predictions. I call it sort of a little bit of a randomizer as to what's going to happen. So the way this works is, I'll just show you a card here, and you can see how this goes. Let's say I play this card, which is the starting card, by the way. It's a technique that says, draw a card from your deck and place it into your hand. Then roll the die and discard 2 cards from whatever comes up on this die. These 3 symbols would be the ones on the die. Now, this die is not evenly distributed. You're only going to have, you'll have 1 of these symbols here. Let me find it. You have 1 of those. Then you've got 2 of these. And then you've got 3 of these. But this one is a re-roll. So that is going to, you're going to do the symbol and then re-roll that die again. So for example, I would draw a card from my deck, put it into my hand, and then I would discard 2 cards from my deck. That's what happens there. Ideally, I want to roll nowhere in this case, so I don't have to discard anything. And if I happen to roll this one, that's terrible. I have to discard 2 cards from my hand. Then we've got this one here, the festival. Roll this die, draw a card from one of those places and place it into my hand. Here what I want is that unique face. I definitely got rolled off the screen, but that's what I got. So I'm going to roll this. I draw a card from my deck, place it into my hand. I re-roll. I draw a card from my deck again and place it into my hand. So I got 2 cards from that one because I got the re-roll on the first one. Again, if I get this one, the very special face there, I would get a card from the market deck. So ideally, I'm drawing 1 here, then maybe 1 from the market deck. Very fun stuff that can happen with these guys. And it's not quite controllable, but it's not the craziest character that uses a die. Some of the other characters that utilize these dice, not this die, but their own unique die, are a little bit wilder, a little bit just kookier. These guys feel a little more controllable, a little less insane, and I really like the fun of rolling the die and just hoping you get a little extra boost. So my number 2, the snowshoe hares. And then finally, at number 1 are these wealthy tuataras, I'm guessing is how you say that. These guys come from set number 4 from the collection box. And their thing, of course, is utilizing gold. Gold are these tokens. And those tokens work the same way that a card from your hand would work. You can spend them as 1 strength to buy something. Or spend them because a card needs you to spend things. You could spend cards, or you could spend these gold tokens. So, they are going to allow you to bank some of this money and use it later. Let's take a look at a couple of cards here. We've got this golden opportunity that says throw away a card from your hand, take 1 gold from the bank. That is a fantastic way to get rid of junk or something else you don't need from your deck. Not only are you thinning out your deck, but you're getting to bank a gold from that, and you can spend that later to buy cards or to, again, activate a card, such as this one here. This technique says you can spend 2 to increase your hand size by 2 for this turn. You'll be able to have more cards going into the next one, and you will, of course, have ideally a much better round. These guys are going to couple really well with the wood turtles, who need you to spend money on things to finish their techniques, and just anything. The fact that they let you buy cards with this gold means they are incredibly versatile. They are just fun to play. They bring an entire new resource and asset to the game, and I really, really like playing with them. They are going to just give you something that's a little more tangible, a little more permanent, that you can save and utilize in a pinch to buy the right card, to finish the right card, or anything else that the other decks might allow you to do. So my number 1 deck are these funky little wealthy tuataras right here. Really neat stuff. This game has a lot of variety in it, and hopefully showing you my 10 favorite decks has shown you that. But of course, there are, as you saw earlier, many, many different decks here, going all the way from cute and cuddly and very friendly to very nasty and, as those crocs say, intimidating. So there you go, everybody. That is my top 10 favorite animal folks for Dale of Merchants collection, and I hope this video has been fun for you. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below which is the one deck that you always want to shuffle in and play when throwing down some Dale of Merchants. And I will see you on the next video, everybody. Have a great day. My name is Z Garcia. I'll catch you on the next one.